since we are not a weather show, maybe we'll move over to real estate here. Aubrey, the amount of people who are moving here, whether it's for the weather or not, people are moving here for the jobs, and these jobs are pretty high paying. And not only that, but these people need places to live.
Yeah, it's true. And, our inventory of houses to buy continues to be historically low. We did so. I think we talked about that last month. It's kind of unprecedented. And now our apartment vacancy rate is down as well. So whether you want to buy or rent, it's kind of hard. And the prices are going up. Rents are quite a bit higher than they were a year ago. And, of course, house prices are up, too.
Yeah, in fact, in your article, you recently said the average rent is now $1,410 in Seattle, $1,173 in the county, and just over $1,000 across the entire region, which are up 10.8% in Seattle.
Yeah, it's amazing, and that rent, $1,400, and that's for an apartment. It used to be that would be a good mortgage payment on a good size.
That's like
house.
a $300,000 loan.
It's really quite something, and people are renting them. Right now, the big question is we didn't have any apartments being built for a while, and that really drove our vacancy rate down. But now things are being built, and a bunch of these units are starting to come online. So that could be changing here pretty soon. Not the rent levels. Those new apartments are going to rent for even more. But it will be interesting to see how fast they get filled up.
Yeah. Do you tend to think that they're going to fill up pretty quick? I mean, do you think we're going to just continue with this housing, I wouldn't call it necessarily a crisis, but definitely a lack of housing?
On the rental side, I think we're going to get to a point where we have maybe even a bit of an oversupply. It seems like that's the way the apartment market works, as you go from a shortage to a glut. And we have a lot of buildings coming online and a lot more planned. So, I don't think it's going to last where where people have a whole lot of trouble finding apartments. But then again, that kind of depends on the job situation. As the recovery continues, if it picks up steam, then we could see that. It's a little different than in the market for buying houses, where especially if you want to live in the city of Seattle, the supply of houses is fairly fixed. We're building new townhouses. They're building those about as fast as they can now, but there's a lot of folks who they want that single family house.
Yeah.
Apartments, they're building a lot of them.
Yes, they are. When people are looking at apartments and houses, that price point certainly is a big factor. But right now, a lot of people are just trying to get housing over their heads for their jobs to start, and that's creating a lot of stress in the market. When you start looking at, just the gains that home prices are having, the lack of inventory, the lack of apartments, what do you foresee here? Really coming up, I guess, for the people who are transplanting to Seattle?
I think two things. I think one, in terms of apartments, actually, there's several buildings that I've been watching that are now at the point of renting. I can think of 3 or 4 off the top of my head. So I think that it's probably a little better now than it was a few months ago. As I said, I'll be interested to see how fast they fill up. Because I don't really have a complete handle on the balance of the people moving here versus these new buildings. If you want to buy a house, we're going to get the March numbers here pretty soon from the multiple listing service, and that could give us some indication of where things are headed. We've been sort of hoping that as we get into the spring selling season, a bunch of people will start to bring their homes on the market. We're just coming out of the slow time of year, and it could be with what people have been hearing about the market coming back. People will decide to sell. You need those move-up buyers to decide that they've got enough equity in their current house, or they're close enough to being above water again that they can sell their house and try to move up. And so it remains to be seen. When we get those March numbers, maybe will give us some indication of whether the supply is going to open up a little bit.
Yeah, that would be nice, because right now it doesn't seem overly healthy.
No, even the real estate professionals who are in some ways profiting from the bidding wars that you have and all the excitement generated when there's a shortage of homes, they know that that's not a healthy thing. We certainly saw that in the boom, that when people get a little bit too heated up and too excited, and the bidding wars and all that, bad things can happen. So we need a bit more balance. That would be good.
Yeah, well, hopefully there will be some more balance coming up. I know that in the city of Seattle, as you said, there's just not a lot of houses coming up for sale, and there's not a lot of houses being built outside of these townhomes. And even on the east side in some of the core areas, there's just no place to put a big development. And so a lot of people who maybe think they want to live, in the city, maybe pushed out to even further places such as maybe, like Mill Creek or Everett or Marysville or Linwood, and really have to deal with that commute if they want to have a house that they deem worthy, I suppose, to be their home.
Yeah, it's funny. It used to be, drive till you qualify. Now it's drive till you can find a place, I guess.
Right. Well, and that's the only place where you have these real, these new developments really going in.
Yeah, but I think one of the changes, one of the things that's been pushing this inventory situation in the close-in markets is, it used to be a lot of people that wanted a new house, they wanted a yard, they wanted a certain amount of space. But I think the attractiveness of being close to things where you can walk to stuff, I think that's grown. And so, I think a lot more people really do want to live closer in. It's just, that's what's driving the demand. And developers can't respond to that really except with certain kinds of products.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about this before, but with people coming in from all over the country, there are different styles, I suppose, of living in other parts of the country. Downtown areas are certainly different with more families living in high-rise buildings and things of that nature. Whereas Seattle, if you really consider the way that it's built, there are not very many places that you can go live that are not necessarily walking distance to restaurants and things like that. We really have a much more urban sprawl.
Well, Seattle has, more than some cities, it has some nice neighborhood nodes within the city, but the housing still isn't very dense. I mean, you have relatively small houses on quite big lots by the standards of certainly East Coast cities. So it does limit that inventory, and at the same time, because there isn't that tradition of people necessarily living with, say, families in townhomes, they haven't always been designed with that in mind. I think that could start to change here as you get more people from other places, as you get just a lack of alternatives, really. And I think the other thing you're starting to see more of is just people who, given how crazy things have been, are deciding to try to work with what they have or find a place and turn it into what they want.
Yeah, a little bit less of that dream home mentality and more of that, hey, this is going to just be our first home or second home, and most people are typically pretty happy at that point in time once they move in and they stop looking at all the other houses for sale.
Yeah, that's my curse is I never stopped looking at the other houses for sale. But, most people, they stop cruising. Hopefully, if they know it's good for them, they'll stop looking at the listings every day.
Stop looking at the houses you could have bought.
Yeah, it's no good.
Yeah, never a good thing.